Welcome back to part 4 of my video series on bad officiating in the 2016 NCAA Championship game. This video will focus on the hand checking rules, and these two rules can be found in Rule 10, Section 1, Articles 2 and 3. Article 2 states a player shall not contact an opponent with his hand unless such contact is only with the opponent's hand while it is on the ball and is incidental to an attempt to play the ball. Article 3 states a player shall not use his hands on an opponent to inhibit the freedom of movement of the opponent in any way. I have to be clear at this point, these may be the poorest written rules in the entire rule book. First, Article 2 seems to imply any hand contact by a player is a foul. This would be absurd considering how much hand-to-player contact exists in basketball at all levels of the game. Since this rule is not enforced literally, I have to assume it is enforced subjectively. A referee has to ask himself, does the hand contact give an unfair advantage to the player making the hand contact? Second, Article 3 seems to have the same problem of subjective enforcement as Article 2. Freedom of movement in the rulebook is defined as players cutting freely, running their offense, or otherwise creating a more free-flowing game. Essentially, the referee has to ask himself as the action happens live right in front of him, does this hand contact inhibit a player's movement? Two rules requiring split-second subjective judgment by an official, and good rules will never put the onus on the official. Let's look at some plays to see how these two rules were enforced in the game. We are going to look at the first hand check foul called in the game. Before I play the real speed video, I have illustrated on the frame how the play originates so you can anticipate the foul happening in live speed. Just before the foul occurs, Villanova's Phil Booth cuts into the top of the key, dribbles out to the three-point line, and then drives in again. On the drive back into the top of the key, North Carolina's Theo Pinson commits a hand check foul. This foul occurs on the exact same action that Josh Hart gets away with a travel, and this was documented in my first video. One more thing to take notice, as soon as the foul is called, look at what happens at the area circled at the bottom of the frame. Now let's see the video.
Hart fell down, nearly traveled but did not. Jalen Brunson. Now Phil Booth in off the bench, dribbling back and forth.
Clearly that was a legitimate hand checking foul, no argument here. But why does the official, Terry Weimer, start a conversation with Josh Hart from behind? And why is Josh Hart embracing Weimer as if Weimer had just done him the biggest favor in the world? Josh Hart did not start the conversation. You can clearly tell he is reacting to the official getting his attention, and then Josh Hart has sort of a guilty laugh after Weimer says something to him. I don't want to get off topic, but this needed to be pointed out given everything that has happened on this particular play. And there will be a future video discussing this type of behavior from the officials in this game. Exactly 90 seconds after the first hand-checking foul is called, the second hand-checking foul gets called, and this one too is on UNC. While the action is obscured by the camera angle, UNC's Nate Britt is committing a hand-check foul from behind on Villanova's Archie Diacono. Here's the real speed video.
And a big rise up for Booth. He hadn't scored in double figures in any of the previous 10 games. Archie Diacono probes the lane with Nate Britt.
Here's the same play from a different camera angle. I would like to point out that before Nate Britt commits a hand check foul, we can clearly see that Archie Diacono is using his off arm to clear space between he and Nate Britt. By Rule 10.1.2, if a player puts his hand on another player, it is a hand check foul. By the wording of the rule, it does not matter if it is an offensive or a defensive player that puts his hand on the opposing player. I have advanced the frame to where Nate Britt commits the hand check foul. Perhaps if he had not been cleared out by Archie Diacono's off arm, he may have been in better position to make a defensive play. I will take this opportunity to give the referees credit for one thing. They determined that Archie Diacono was not in the act of shooting and did not award him with 2 free throws, even though he makes an attempt to sell the officials on a shot attempt. You can see that a non-shooting foul is the correct call as Nate Britt's swipe is occurring while Archie Diacono is still dribbling. Let's see the real speed video from this backboard camera angle.
Britt is first.
Archie Diacono created that little penetration. He sees a little opening, a gap in the defense. He attacks, he gets fouled. And remember this, Villanova.
Now let's go to the very first hand check committed in the game. It occurs an entire 6 minutes before the first hand check gets called on UNC, and this hand check is committed by Villanova, not North Carolina. Not only is Josh Hart contacting the opposing player with his hand, which is a violation of Article 2, his hand and his body positioning is obstructing the movement of Marcus Page, which is a violation of Article 3. One action violating both articles and no foul is called. Let's see the real speed video and keep a close eye on it because it happens fast.
He moves so well without.
Let's look at another missed hand checking foul. Ironically, this hand check happens on the exact same spot of the floor where the first called hand check on North Carolina happened. You would think that deja vu would kick in and the referee would say, "I've seen this before. It was a foul last time. Maybe I should call it the same way this time." Anyways, let's see the real speed video.
He's the guy that's going to score. He's going to defend. He's going to rebound.
Foul on Gerald Reynolds was his first. He's in to give Ochefu a brief breather. 5 minutes gone by, second half. Joel Berry, no.
Here is a hand check from behind that happens right in front of the official. UNC's Marcus Page drives by Josh Hart, and as he goes by him, Josh Hart makes an elongated slap at the ball from the opposite side. According to Article 2, if he hits the hand of the dribbler, it is not a foul. Josh Hart comes nowhere near the hand of Marcus Page or the ball. This is a hand-checking foul. To make matters worse, Marcus Page gets clobbered on the layup attempt, and there's no foul on this either. Let's see the real speed video. I don't know how you miss any of those fouls, especially when they happen right in front of you. The only thing left to do is grade the hand check foul. The first hand check foul on UNC would not have happened if the travel on Josh Hart had been called, so we can negate this foul. The second hand check foul on Nate Britt is a legitimate call because he takes a full downward swipe at the ball and gets more arm than hand or ball. The 3 missed hand checks on Villanova are a different story. The first fits the definition of both Articles 2 and 3, so it must be called. The second happens in the exact same way and the exact same spot on the floor as the first hand check called on UNC. For consistency purposes, it too should be called. The third is a blatant hand check per Article 2 because Hart made contact with Page, but not with Page's hand nor with the ball. For stat purposes, the first missed hand check would add a team foul to Villanova's count in the first half. The second and third missed hand checks would add 2 team fouls to Villanova's count in the second half. All 3 were non-shooting fouls, so the only way UNC could get free throws for these fouls is if these fouls occurred after at least 6 team fouls had been committed in the half. That is all for now, and I hope to have another video for you next week.